guys, if you're interested in how I, as a migrant, as a Russian German, managed to complete the notoriously long and difficult university course in Germany at the LMU, then definitely stick around to the very end to find out more. Morning guys, we've got to refilm the intro because I did not plug in my mic properly last time. So yeah, got some iced coffee here. Don't know why, but really into iced coffee at the minute. Probably has something to do with the weather. Been actually quite changeable here in Munich. And actually I love Saturdays because me being glamorous, this is me full glam. We are heading to the school where I am allowed to film my videos, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Всем привет! Hallo, zusammen! Hi guys! Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anastasia and I make videos in which I am sharing my experience as a Russian German who's been going through the process of integration, and this series is devoted to my academic journey. But before I dive into it, I would like to make a confession again. I've messed up a little bit because I watched my last video, and if you haven't already, go and check it out because I am talking in that video about my bachelor's degree as a migrant with really limited German language, and the reason why actually I started the wrong course, as you can see on the thumbnail. Anyway, I think I must have misspoken because I am talking about the educational / parenting styles and which ones are considered sort of the best ones and which ones are considered sort of detrimental to the health and well-being of children. So the authoritative one, okay, autoritativ, Freiheit in Grenzen, in Russian авторитетный, is considered the best one in terms of psychology and you know, development of kids. That one is called authoritarian, and it is not a good idea to raise kids being an authoritarian parent. Okay, autoritär of Deutsch or авторитарный of Russisch. Okay, so just to clear that up, authoritative the best one, authoritarian not a good idea because it might then result in oppositional behavior on the part of the children. Okay, so that's sorted. So real quick to last week's video where I was talking about my bachelor's thesis and my bachelor's degree. I quite abundantly spoke about the major, which is DAF, but I did actually leave out the minor, which is SLK. You guys remember? Sprache, Literatur, Kultur, language, literature, culture, okay? And I must touch upon it because SLK is the reason why I've studied what I've studied, which is today's episode's topic. And if I hadn't done SLK, I would not have come across the university course called Lehramt, and I would have missed out on so much in life. Right, so just real quick, in SLK we did mostly literature, and linguistics, also a little bit of media, literature studies, English, and I also managed to do one foreign language, like 2 introductory courses to French, cours débutant en A2, something like that, even though I do not remember anything, but you know, it's done. And so this makes a nice transition to today's video. Alright, as you can see in red is the topic of today's video, which is called Lehramt. So the second university course I studied at the Ludwig Maximilians University, and I've split it up into 3 sectors, as you can see. So in today's episode I'm going to be focusing on the first one, English. Then next week's episode is going to be about Russian, and then in 2 weeks' time we're going to be talking about the how shall I put it, sort of educational pedagogy. So in English, Russisch, Erziehungswissenschaften. Okay, so in a Lehramtsstudium you've got to at least pick 2 majors, in my case English and Russian, and then the Erziehungswissenschaften. Okay, do I think that I wasted my precious time whilst doing German as a foreign language? And I would like to introduce to you the unique German word, which is called Jein. So yes and no. On the one hand, of course, it is not what I am practicing now, right? So what I make for a living. On the other hand, you guys know that I did my bachelor's thesis. When I was doing my Lehramtsstudium, which could be translated into English as a teacher trainee course, okay, I had to write the so-called Zulassungsarbeit, which is the equivalent of thesis, so to speak, right? And because I had my bachelor's thesis and it is actually situated in this sector, Erziehungswissenschaften, I spoke to one professor if she could read through my thesis and then potentially recognize it as a Zula, because it's a common practice for guys and girls who had studied previously, okay? And I was so lucky because, first of all, she's sort of retained the same grade and I did not have to write my Zulassungsarbeit. So, Jein, yes and no. I gravitated towards no. Having spoken about the Bologna process and the, you know, standardized procedure and the modularized courses, this one is a German particularity because it does not comply with those rules and regulations. It's really a long one. I will be talking about it in detail. As you know, this is my plan for at least the next 3 weeks. The courses have been modularized though, so a lecture accompanied by a seminar. It's it's neither a bachelor nor is it a master's degree. So this is why I know quite a few guys and girls who have completed a Lehramtsstudium and then would do a master's degree. So in today's video we're going to be focusing on the first major in the Lehramtsstudium, in my case, which is English, and I've divided it into 4 categories, okay? Again, it's been modularized, even though it is not a bachelor, nor is it a master's. However, each course consists of a lecture and a seminar, which is devoted to, you know, deepening your understanding of something. Right, let's begin with linguistics. And I've identified so far like 4 sub-chapters, if you want to. And so one course we did phonetics and phonology, right? So the smallest units of language. Then we also did morphology, right? How words come into being, if you want to. Then also one course was devoted to grammar, syntax, okay? So how those words work in a sentence. And then of course the last sort of unit was devoted to text linguistics. what are the criteria of a successful text, you know, keywords, cohesion and coherence, of course. Okay, so the second unit is devoted to literature, and in that unit we did like the literary criticism, for example, the post-colonial studies, post-structuralism, the deconstruction movement, and then this would or is accompanied by a lot of reading, of course, and I will come back to this reading piece of information in just a minute. Then of course you can't become a teacher if you don't know the basics of the teaching as such, so didactics or teaching, English didactic of Deutsch. The last category in my overview, so to speak, is the language practice. So of course you've got speaking and writing skills, also you have cultural studies, and then the course which is threatening to people like me, the migrants, is called Sprachmittlung, because not only do you have to understand the source text, which is in English, but you also have to coherently translate it into German, right? And so you do have to have at least C2 in German, I'd say. Right, with that overview, let's begin breaking it down into its components, and I will walk you through each of them in more detail. So these are the books that I own, and I've laid them out as I'm going to sort of be talking. So let's talk about each of the categories in a little bit more detail. Let's start with the first category, which is called linguistics, and the first and foremost part of it, at least at uni, we had a course called Phonetics and Phonology, and this book is essential if you guys want to make progress, if you guys want to do successfully in the course, because as you might know, in the final exam, which is the erstes Staatsexamen, das große Staatsexamen, you will be given a text, a chunk of a text, and you have to analyze it in terms of phonetics and phonology. So, real short, what we did in the course was, of course, we touched upon the varieties of English, even though we focused on the British English and the general American English. The RP is the research pronunciation when you decide. By the way, early in the course you have to make up your mind if you are doing RP or general American English, because then every time you consulting this dictionary, you will not waste your time and pick either the first or the second variant. Okay. Also, we talked, of course, about the English phonemic system, the transcription system, the vowels, the short ones, the long ones, the diphthongs, also the consonants, the the articulation apparatus, if you want to, so the bilabials, alveolar, fricatives, plosives, glottal stop, and so on and so forth. So in short, also the difference between phonemes and graphemes. So the graphemes are the letters you can see, and the phonemes are the sounds you can hear. Okay, and so in order to put on paper what we hear, there is this transcription or transcribing system you use to identify what you've just heard. It's really exciting. Let's move on to the grammar part. And for the grammar part in English linguistics, we had to buy this book, so the essentials, and it offers like a really good overview. You can see mine is fairly used. So in grammar, you would do syntax, of course, and parts of speech, phrases and clauses. We also did morphology, of course, so the morphemes, and the word formation patterns, how words are created, right? So derivation, compounding, clipping, blending, conversion, and so on and so forth. Because again, in the final state exam, you will have a sentence, and you've got to analyze it in terms of syntax and morphology. So in terms of morphology, of course, a couple of words, but there is a certain interdependence. Like in morphology, you've got a field called morphophonology, so the interface between phonology and morphology. Then we also did a little bit of semantics, which is word and sentence meaning, and also we do a bit of pragmatics, which is the study of meaning in context. And sociolinguistics was also one of my favorite courses. We did the varieties of English, so the regional differences, also the social varieties. For example, one social group tends to use a certain variety of English. So, for example, we would talk about the African American vernacular, and we would talk about the Cockney accent, the Yorkshire accent or dialect, and how does it what's the link between the dialect or the accent and also the socioeconomic status. So really exciting. Okay. Then for the grammar, we also had to buy this book, like really well laid out, well structured. So you've got word order, which is essential, of course, in English, and then tense and aspect, so the progressive, the perfective, then future time, of course, modal verbs, the participle, the gerund, number, gender, case, the adjective, the adverbial, the definite article, and of course the relative clauses, right? For the text linguistics, we had to buy this book, and real short, it's about cohesion and coherence, so how a text should be constructed so that it flows well and makes sense at the same time. Then, making a jump to the language practice, you have one component which is called Sprachmittlung, a dreaded course for migrant students like me. And we had the book by Ungara, a grammar of present English, really well laid out. And the table of contents actually represents a structure of the course. Okay, so you would do types of sentences, simple sentences, then also complex sentences, noun and noun phrases, adjectives and adjective phrases, adverbs and adverbial phrases, then the finite verb forms, the auxiliaries, the non-finite constructions, subordinate clauses, direct and reported speech. In literature, you also have to make up your mind quite early during the course. If you are gonna write the state exam in narratology, in drama, or in I did narratology, and to do successfully in this course, Einführung in die Erzähltheorie, introduction to narratology, I'd say. Okay, so basically the narratology is the study about how, so it's not only about what the text is about, a short story or a novel, but it's also about how it's constructed. Okay, so what type of narrator are we dealing with? You use Stanzel as opposed to Jeanette. So in my analysis, for example, I would use Jeanette because it's more differentiated one, so you can say more. You would, for example, identify, is it a homodiegetic narrator, is it a heterodiegetic narrator? You would talk about time, mode, voice. You would talk about not only about the narrator, but also the vocalizer. You would be talking about if the narrator is a reliable one or an unreliable narrator. And of course, the characters, the setting. If you guys are into reading novels, then you might consider buying this book or borrowing in the library. Okay. Also, in terms of readings, I did a couple of novels from the 19th century, and then of course I did a course on the Sisters Bronte. Okay, so we have Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, we have Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and we've got Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Speaking of the 19th century, of course I have to do a bit of Dickens. I also picked Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone. If you guys do your Abitur in a non-traditional way, which I did, über den zweiten Bildungsweg, and you did not sort of have any Latin in your school, then you are required to do the Latin course and then to write the so-called das kleine Latinum, okay, so the small exam in Latin. And for that course we did quite a bit about Caesar, and I bought this book by William Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, because it's beautifully written, and we analysed like 2 passages in it. In terms of post-colonial literature, which I'm into, I did, you might recognise this book, Brick Lane, then Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, Northwest by Zadie Smith, The White Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys, Disgrace by Coetzee. And then in terms of the contemporary novel, and I don't have all of the books here, they do not represent the entirety we did at uni, okay? For example, Saturday by Ian McEwan, by Virginia Woolf, so Mrs. Dalloway, are set in London as well, okay? And then we also did a bit of American literature, so Streetcar Named Desire, but also The Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, and so on and so forth, okay? So, touching the surface of the iceberg here, obviously, I plan on making a couple of videos and digging deeper into each of the courses, so definitely let me know if you guys have questions, suggestions, comments in the top comment sections down below. So I'm back home and I'm about to have some green tea, of course, which contains a lot of antioxidants and also keeps you going. I'm going to have breakfast even though it's 1 p.m. and there you have it. Breakfast, break it fast, compound in English. So it's based on, I know it looks weird, but it's based on this gluten-free granola which I made yesterday, and this coconut yogurt. So I'm going to devour it probably in 3 minutes because I'm starving, and then I'm going to edit today's episode. Alright guys, that's about it for today's episode. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you like this content, and also consider subscribing to my channel because it really supports my channel, and I try to stick to my posting schedule, which is each Saturday/Sunday. Alright, I wish you all well, stay safe, stay healthy, and всем пока, Tschüss, allerseits, bye guys.